Hello everyone, I'm here back again with another Awaken Chaos Era video. So it's been a while that I've not published any videos on this game because I was kind of busy with work and I was sick for like quite close to a week and also had some company training to go through. So today since I have some time to make a video on this game, I'll be creating a guide on legendary hero who's known as Opal. You can currently get her through this magic pass. And do I recommend to get her? For early to mid game players, I don't think she will help much, but she will help tremendously when you're at to mid to late game. Once you have some heroes to pair up with her, because if she goes by herself, right, you will not see much value in her unless you synergize her with certain heroes in this game in order to fully make use of her special abilities. And she specializes in performing joint attacks. Alright, so let me give you an overview of what this video will be covering. The first part will be going over briefly on Opal's character design and animation, and then what are her stats to be prioritized on her so that we know how to gear her properly. Next will be understanding how her skills and trait work so we can strategize on how to use her in certain areas in the game, and most importantly come up with the best combination of heroes to pair up with her to unleash her full potential. Next we'll be going over the recommended gears for Opal and also substitutes in case if you're not able to farm certain gears based on your account progression, and then quickly talking about the optimal masteries for her. Once this is out of the way, I'll be showcasing her in various areas in the game to see how she performs. The first one will be the No Man's Land dungeon, where we used to farm the resources to upgrade our hero skills for elite, epic and legendary heroes. And then I'll be showcasing Opal in the Arcane Dominator dungeons, where we used to farm the specific gear sets for our heroes, specifically the Magisteria, Queen of Tides and Wish of the Wind. And after that, I'll be using her in various battles in the arena to see how she performs there, since the battles there are more focused towards short burst attacks. And then I'll be showcasing Opal in PvE content such as the Void Tower Heart, and the Trial and Guild vs Environment to see how she fares against tougher enemies in a longer battle. Finally, I'll be showcasing Opal in speed farming adventure, as she's pretty good in quickly taking down tough mini bosses there. Alright, without further ado, let's get started. So she's here. I have already leveled up her to level 70 so that she will gain additional attack, speed, as well as health and defense stats. Alright, just now you saw her character animation, and this is her 360-degree overview of her character design. She currently wields like a dual wielding gun, maybe it's inspired from another game, and she has these wonderful halos. That's one at her back and two on her sides, and her guns are shining with some silver lights, and she has white hair to complement with her guns. Alright, so that's basically her character design, and let's quickly go through her stats. So she has an S rating for attack, A rating for critical rate, and B rating across the health, defense and speed. So basically whenever you see this kind of stats, you know that she's a damage dealer, because usually damage dealer will have higher more attack, critical rate, and the rest will be depending on her skills. If she's a fast attacker, then her base speed should be higher, around about like 110 to 120 depending on certain skills. Usually if the speed is higher, right, then she'll be most probably like a debuffer or something. And since she's slightly slower, she's more probably a heavy damage dealer. Here are her overall stats. So currently I have her around about 6,153 attack, 100% critical rate as always, 300% critical damage. She does not need focus, resistance, agility or precision. Precision is mainly for arena. So if you use her in arena, then you might want her to have more precision so that she can counter the deflection whenever she attacks the enemy that's stronger affinity than her. And she's speed tuned around 166 speed so that she'll go first to activate her joint attack, so that whenever her allies are slower than her, then she'll be able to join attack. So let's quickly go through her abilities, starting off with her trait known as the Lance Charge. Basic ability strength skills with Rage. This character gains significant rage from repeated attacks on the same target, and once you ascend her, she'll grant a speed up to for 1 turn on herself when her health drops below 50% threshold. And in order to unlock this one, you need to ascend her around about like 5 times. So this is her 5th ascension. Ideally, I would not recommend you to get her to the 5th ascension, because this might ruin your speed tuning for certain areas in the game, such as like in speed farming the Arcane Dominator's dungeon, such as like the Magisteria. Probably I will recommend you to get the base attack, basic health, some speed. If you have additional speed from her ascension, then most probably you can gear her in a warrior set rather than a raider set. Alright, so starting off with the first ability known as the Perfect Shot. This basic ability removes a negative effect from herself and also grants 1 rage, deals 110% damage to an enemy. And as you notice, there are 3 icons located on the right hand side. This shows that the upgrade whenever she gains a rage. So before that, when she doesn't have any rage, it will known as the Perfect Shot, so she'll be using this, and whenever she performs the attack on the same target, then she will unlock this True Lock basic ability that increases the damage output, as you notice, from 110 to 140. And then the second rage will increase the damage output from 140 to 175, and this basic ability is known as Entrapment. And finally, Pincer will be the final ultimate rage, removes a negative effect on herself, and all rage deals 220% damage to an enemy. So she's best used against like bosses, so whenever she keep on attacking on the same enemy, then her rage will increase the damage output of her basic ability from 110 all the way to 220%, which is double the damage. So that's basically sums up her basic ability. Each time she increases her rage, then she'll be able to deal more damage from her basic abilities. Her second ability is known as the Steelskin. This character cannot take more than 51% of max health in damage from a single attack. Grants a shield with strength equal to 10% of this character's max health at the beginning of battle for 2 turns. Alright, so basically the enemy cannot one-shot her in case the enemy performs an AoE nuke, so she'll be able to survive and perform her counter attack. And this one grants a shield with strength equal to 10% of this character's max health. So this one is only available if you're able to use mastery books to unlock this one. I find that this one is not really useful because usually, right, when you start off the battle, she'll gain a shield, but when she moves on to the second round or third round, those shields will be lost. So it doesn't really help that much especially for battles that have multiple rounds. And then finally, we have her ultimate ability known as the Soulcatcher, which is a 3-turn skill cooldown. Deals 220% damage to an enemy and grants a joint attack for 1 turn, extends joint attack by 1 turn upon the defeat of any enemy. Alright, so basically what it means that once you activate this ultimate ability, right, she will have this unique joint attack buff on herself, which cannot be removed by enemies skill that is able to remove buff. Because this one is a unique buff to herself. Whenever she assists her allies to defeat the enemy, she will extend this joint attack buff. So it's recommended to have her speed tweak to go a bit faster than her allies, so that she'll be able to activate this joint attack and keep on extending this joint attack buff whenever she assists her allies in defeating the enemy. This is really important in order to fully make use of this ultimate ability. Alright, so that's basically her skills, and let's quickly go through her gears on how I built her up. So currently I'm gearing her in an assassin set as well as a raider set. Assassin set is a 4-piece set, and it allows Opal to deal 15% more damage to the main target and have a 50% chance to deal additional 35% damage. So if this one works right, that means it's like 50% extra damage to the main target. And then raider speed is for additional speed to speed tune her to go first or to go second before the damage dealers in my team. And once I'm able to get a few copies on her to get the ascension, I think it's the 3rd ascension, to get the 50 speed, then I will replace this raider set with a warrior set to provide her with additional attack stats. So this is my plan once I have additional copies of her. So I've already used 1 copy from the magic pass to get the additional basic health, and hopefully I can get another copy to get this speed up. Then the 4th ascension will be additional defense stats. Let's quickly go through the equipment stats here, starting with the weapon. So these weapons have some health, critical damage, critical rate and precision. Ideally this health should be attack percentage, so that should be able to deal more damage to the enemies. And then next will be the health, the helmet. It has some critical rate, health and triple roll and attack, and some agility. Ideally this agility should be critical damage stats. Then moving on to the chest plate, we have some resistance, precision, attack and critical damage. Ideally this one should be either critical rate if you do not have sufficient critical rate stats, or you can have some health and defense to make her tanky to receive the nuke on enemies. And also this is her attack boots with some critical rate, speed, critical damage and flat stats health. Ideally this one should be percentage health so that she can boost up her health even more. Then we have some critical damage ring with some precisions, speed and critical rate. And in order to move from critical rate ring to critical damage ring, you need some mastery books to land on her critical rate, so that she has sufficient critical rate, then you can have this critical damage ring equipped on her. And finally we have the attack necklace with some double roll and speed, critical rate, focus and defense. Ideally this one should be critical damage for the focus Alright, so that's basically it for her gears. And if you're not able to farm Assassin set from the Wish of the Wind, alternatively, you can substitute Assassin set with Warrior set. So if we were to look into the recommended guide from the Ace developers, they mention Curse set, Assassin set, and Divine set. You can also use Curse set if you're able to get a few good copies of the Curse set from the Queen of Tides, if they have some good substats on that, like attack, critical rate, and critical damage. Alright. And then her glyphs and abilities are all maxed out. And for her masteries, I already maxed it out with the mastery books. Because currently I'm using Opal as my main speed farmer for the Edge Magisteria, because she's really useful there to farm the higher end favored gears for the Raider set, Dragon Scale, as well as every set. Dragon Scale is mostly used for the for the arena, but I'm more interested in the Raider set as well as the every set. Alright, so that's basically sums up her masteries. If you want to use the legendary mastery book, ideally you want the gears to be max, so that you'll be able to max out the attack stats and attack stats from the boots and necklace, as well as the at least one copy in the critical damage. The rest of this one does not really help much unless you got spare legendary books that you want to dump it. But I highly recommend you to max out the gear as well as the abilities. Abilities for the additional critical rate and also enhancing the damage output for her abilities. You just need only one book for the critical damage. The rest does not really matter that much, unless you want to min-max your attack stats by having this grants attack boost equal to 100% speed. Alright, so also the Ace developers also mentioned she synergizes really well with William, because William will boost up her basic ability damage, because she mostly or frequently use her basic ability rather than her ultimate ability, and William's trait allows to boost her basic ability by 60%, which is really useful in boss raiding. And she pairs really well with Jacob, because Jacob gains multiple bonus turns, and each time he attacks, Opal can also join attack. Alright, so this basically sums up Opal's abilities, stats, and recommended gears, skills, and masteries. And let's move on into showcasing Opal in the No Man's Land dungeon, followed by Arcane Dominator, Arena, and so forth. Alright, so we are now in the No Man's Land dungeon. I'll be showcasing Opal in all of these dungeons, starting from the Bane Wraith, followed by Flame Lizard, Wrathful Flood, Lord of the Holy Light, and then Shadow Captive. So let's start off with Bane Wraith. I'll start with the stage 11. I'll skip the formation to show you the heroes in this squad. So I have Bolin, Myron Shadowblood, Opal, and Jacob. And for the spells, I'll be using Sundering Purgatory as well as Gaia's Renewal for healing, because there's no healer in this team, and Opal will be kind of squishy because she's a weak affinity to this Bane Wraith, so having an additional supplementary healing from Gaia's Renewal will be really helpful. Alright, so at the start of the battle, Myron Shadowblood will go first because she's pretty fast. She has around about 250 plus speed. Because the more speed she has, she'll be able to perform ally joint attacks. And then on the second round, we have the boss here. So the boss has around about, I think, 10 block buff. So you need to break that block buff first before you're able to deal damage to this boss. Okay, so that is Jacob's ultimate. He only has one rage, so he only able to perform one attack. So I think on the next subsequent rounds, we will be able to see the full force of Jacob's mighty ultimate that synergizes really well with Opal's joint attack. So as you notice that Opal has already activated her ultimate ability that shows there's a knife pointing down to herself. And when the buff is gone, she'll not be able to perform joint attack. Alright, so the boss on round 3 has applied the 24 buff there, which makes things really interesting, especially at the higher stages like stage 11. And you need a lot of joint attackers. If you do not have Myron Shadowblood, you can substitute her with either Arendelle or Scarlet, that has her pet booth there to perform the joint attacks whenever the enemy is being attacked while having this bleeding effect. Alright, so we have around about 14 more block buff before we are able to deal some damage to the boss. Right, Opal has already applied the joint attack, and now you'll see the full power of this ally joint attack with Jacob. So each time Jacob attacks, Opal will perform her joint attack as well. And once the block buff is reduced to 0, you can see the damage dealt by Opal and Jacob here. along with Boolean's lightning attack. So this one will finish within round 5 itself if you're able to make Opal tanky enough to survive that AoE attack. So this one took around about 2 minutes to finish off the boss. This team is not really ideal because Opal is pretty squishy here, and there's a chance where she'll be able to deflect the attacks. But this is one team that you can use her in case if you do not have other heroes on your account like Scarlet or Arendelle. Alright, so moving on to the next No Man's Land dungeon is the Flame Lizard. I'll be showcasing Opal at stage 11 as well. I'll skip the formation to show you the heroes. So in this squad I have Opal, William, Natalia as well as Sarah. So William synergizes really well with Opal because he boosts the Opal's basic ability by 60% whenever she performs her basic ability. And for the spells, I'll be using Smoldering Flames and Sundering Purgatory to apply the defense down. So the priority for the spells will be using the Smoldering Flame first before the Sundering Purgatory. Alright, so at the start of the battle, I speed tune William to go first to use the Smoldering Flames, and then this will force the AI to use the defense down on the boss so that he'll receive more damage whenever my heroes perform the attack. So you can finish off this boss within the second round itself. So the boss doesn't have time to perform a counter attack. So in case if you do not have these heroes as strong as mine, most probably you will need to use Charles to crowd control the boss at this stage. Because the boss, if he's not crowd control, right, he'll deal additional damage. So that's basically the Flame Lizard, which is pretty fast using Opal, because Opal is a stronger affinity to this Flame Lizard to deal additional damage. I think 50% additional damage to this boss in PvE. And now we have a Wrathful Flood. I'll also skip the formation to show you the heroes here. Alright, so for this team, I'll be using Natalia, Opal, Sarah, as well as this newly added hero who is Rachel. So Rachel specializes in beating water affinity heroes because she deals additional damage to them. Alright, so this boss is pretty difficult if you are not able to finish him off within the first round itself, because he can heal himself. So in case if you are not able to do sufficient damage to this boss, then you need to use a hero like who is able to apply the unhealable buff on this boss. So let's say if your heroes are not strong, you can use this guy, Jonathan. Jonathan is able to apply the unhealable on his basic ability there, right? So but since I've already tested my team, I'm able to quickly deal damage to this boss using this team. Okay, at the start of the battle, Opal is speed tuned to go first, so she'll be able to activate her joint attacks, and then Sarah will assist in the AoE nuke damage. And then Opal will apply the defense down so that the enemies will receive more damage. So each time my heroes attack, Opal will join attack as well. So that's it. Very fast team. This is my current speed farming team to speed farm the Wrathful Flood within like 30 seconds. So in case if you're not able to deal sufficient damage to wipe out the boss within the first round itself, I highly recommend to use like Jonathan to apply the unhealable. Alright, so moving on to the Deschmir stage 11 dungeon. This boss specializes in buff to nuke out your heroes. So for this squad, I'll be using Rachel to strip away the buff that is placed by the boss. I have Natalia to clear off the first wave, Opal as my assistant to deal damage to the boss, and then we have Sarah to clear off the first wave as well as to apply the increased damage taken. And for the spells, I'll be using Smoldering Flames and Sundering Purgatory, like the previous No Man's Land dungeon. Alright, so at the first round, it'll be something similar to the Flame Lizard, where Opal will use the Smoldering Flames, reduce the enemy's health low enough so that Sarah will be able to perform the finishing kill. And it also forces the defense down on the second round here. So that's the joint attack from Opal. So once the boss health drops below 50%, Sarah will also perform her AoE nuke damage there. So whenever the boss have at least one buff on itself, this will trigger a buff or additional attack from Rachel. And there you have it, a very quick speed run using this team. It's around about 37 seconds there. Same strategy like the Flame Lizard. And now we are in the Shadow Captive, and this Shadow Captive is much more difficult compared to most of the No Man's Land dungeon because this boss applies a plague that deals massive amount of damage based on your hero's max health. So I was able to finish stage 11 Shadow Captive using Opal. And for this squad, I have Sarah and Natalia, Yolanda, as well as Opal. Opal will be assisting my damage dealers here, and her basic ability will be able to strip away or remove that negative effect applied by the boss here. So she's crucial in surviving as well as to deal damage to this boss. And since Sarah will be there to assist in nuking out the first wave to speed up the run. And this boss will apply immune buff on himself, so the boss will not be able to be affected by this defense down. So I highly recommend you to get the Smouldering Flames and Gaia's Renewal. Smouldering Flames to clear the first wave quickly. Alright, I've speed tuned Yolanda to go first, so that she can apply the attack up buff to Natalia, so that she'll be able to do more damage to the boss here. And Natalia will not be able to receive that plague debuff cast by the boss there. So Opal and Natalia will be able to survive much more longer. And with the gut buff applied to Sarah, she'll be able to survive the enemy's attack there as well. So Yolanda is here to apply the shield, so the shield will be able to mitigate some of the plague damage applied by the boss that reduces the health of my heroes here. The boss will target the hero that has the highest health, and I think we can finish this boss here with all of these joint attacks. So there you have it. Yeah, this one took around about close to 1 minute to speedrun this dungeon. Alright, so as you can see here, Opal is really useful in all of these dungeons in assisting your damage dealers to deal massive amount of damage to the boss. And if you are having trouble in any areas of this dungeon, you can use Opal in here to help you to deal more damage to finish off these enemies, especially for the stage 10 and 11. Because those stages, the enemies have high health and they have special abilities there that makes it much more difficult to take them down. So we are now in the Wish of the Wind Arcane Dominator. I'll be showcasing Opal in this Helmo stage 4. I'll skip the formation to show you the heroes in my squad. In my squad, I have Opal to assist my damage dealer, who is my Natalia here. Zitlin is there for his continuous heal as well as the shield buff to sustain my heroes to live longer, and he's there primarily for his curse debuff, because curse debuff allows my damage dealer to deal double damage. And then I have Natalia here. Natalia is to clear the first 2 waves as well as to deal massive amount of damage to the boss. And then finally we have William to perform the counter attack buff, apply the AoE defense down, as well as improving damage dealer's basic ability, our damage output by 60%. And for the spells, I have Sundering Purgatory as well as Gaia's Renewal for supplementary healing. So at the start of the battle, I have speed tuned Zitlin to go first, so that he'll be able to apply his curse debuff, followed by William to apply the AoE defense down, followed by Natalia to clear off the first 2 small minions on the front line. And now Opal has already activated her joint attack, so each time her allies perform attack, she'll be able to joint attack and as well as extend that joint attack buff. And it'll be even faster in the second round, because Opal does not need to take her turn here, because she'll be mostly performing her assistance whenever my allies perform the joint attacks, perform the attacks here. So this will speed up the run even faster. Now moving on to the wave 3, where the boss is located with side minions. So okay, so William applied the defense down, so that heroes will be able to do more damage. And if your William is built with mastery books, then he will be able to guarantee that defense down on the boss 100% all the time. And currently with Zitlin, because the debuff is not ready yet, it will be ready on the 5th round. So you're waiting for it, and as you can see here, right, the boss applies that bleeding effect, which is quite dangerous if there's many stacks on the hero, because it decreases the hero's health quickly. And the good thing about Opal's basic ability is she will be able to remove that negative effect on herself each time she performs a joint attack or her basic ability. As you notice there, she just removed that bleeding effect. So this pairs really well with William's counter attack buff there. And then the right minion has applied the shield, which makes it much more difficult to defeat the boss, but with the curse debuff activated on the boss, which is around about 1 more turn left, whenever the boss takes a turn, she gets defeated by the curse debuff damage. So this is how you speed run this dungeon very fast. In case if you do not have Opal, you can substitute Opal with Maria Shadowblood. But Maria Shadowblood attacks is quite random. Sometimes it Sometimes she performs the attack, sometimes she doesn't. So it's quite random. However, for Opal, right, you can guarantee her attack is always consistent. So this run took around about 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Alright, so we are now in the Ash Magisteria Helmet Stage 4. I'll be showcasing Opal here along with William, Natalia as well as Zitlin. And the spells I'll be using will be Sundering Purgatory as well as Gaia's Renewal. So the third order for these heroes are Zitlin to go first, followed by William. Third will be Opal and followed by Natalia to clear off these enemies. So the rule for Zitlin here is to apply his curse debuff to amplify the damage received by the enemies by twice. So you will be able to speed farm this boss quickly. And if you want to use this particular team, you need to ensure that Natalia only attacks once for this first 2 waves, so that her passive skill will be ready once she faces the boss. So the good thing about William here is he's there to apply the counter attack buff so that Natalia will be able to finish off the 5 imps whenever once the boss attacks her. Because the 5 imps in this dungeon, right, they'll be able to recover their health, as you notice there, whenever they receive fatal hit. So they recover around about like 20 to 30% of the health, so you need another second attack or second AoE attack to finish off these 5 imps. And that's where William comes in with his counter attack buff. So it's pretty helpful, and apart from that, William is really useful here to boost up both of my Natalia as well as Opal's basic ability damage output by 60%. As well as you notice, when you're pairing Opal with William, her damage output is significantly higher, and this makes him as a good candidate pair with Opal for boss raiding, as you can see here. So I think the curse debuff is already applied to the boss. As you notice, there's a yellow icon. That is the unique curse debuff applied by Zitlin. So once the boss ends his turn, this will expire the curse debuff and you will amplify the damage received by twice, as you notice there. Alright, so this is the first team composition that I showcase using Opal, and then I'll be showcasing Opal in a second team if you do not have Zitlin and William. So this team uses Florence and Joseph. Florence is there to provide this bonus attack to allow my heroes to deal additional damage. And then Florence is also quite useful here to apply this AoE increased damage taken, which helps immensely to take down the 5 imps around the boss. And Joseph, on the other hand, is there to remove the bomb debuff that is placed by the boss. The boss will only target the hero that has the highest health rather than based on their element or affinity. I think there's some changes done by the Ace developers which is not shared, because previously they mentioned that they will focus towards neutral or weak affinity heroes, but this isn't the case based from my observation in this battle. So yeah, so as you can see here, the bomb is already placed by the boss, and later Joseph will remove this. Once Joseph removed that debuff, right, it also grants an additional bonus turn to Florence, which reduces the Florence ultimate skill cooldown from 4 turns to 3 turns, which syncs up with the turn order for the boss, where the boss will also have a 3 turn skill cooldown to summon these 5 imps around him. And with the AoE increased damage taken on the 5 imps, it makes it quite easy to take down the enemies there. This one, it will be slightly slower because damage output dealt by my heroes is not boosted by like William's trait. And yeah, so the bonus attack really helps in taking down the 5 imps around the boss, as you notice there. So if you do not have counter attack buff, you can use bonus attack like Florence. Or in case if you do not have both Florence as well as William, then you need to invite another AoE damage dealer such as like Celine, or someone who can help to take down the 5 imps around the boss. Because the 5 imps on like Helmet Stage 3 as well as Helmet Stage 4, they deal significantly higher amount of damage. And there are more 5 imps around the boss. Do take note that Natalia needs to have sufficient buff on herself to be able to attack all of the fire imps around the boss. At least I think about 4 buff on herself. Florence takes care of it by providing the shield buff from the Fate set on her. Alright, so that's the battle result. It took around about 2 minutes and close to 3 minutes at that. Now moving on to the Queen of Tides. I'll be showcasing Opal here along with Rachel, Florence and Natalia. The spells I'll be using will be Sundering Purgatory and revive the last breath to revive Florence because she's the weakest affinity here. So the speed tuning is Florence will go first, followed by Opal, and then Natalia, and finally Rachel. So with Opal participation in this battle, the enemies here also have a chance to take that turn. I think, yeah. You need to have Rachel to be above, I think, 155 or 156 speed. Go before the mob enemies here. I have a speed tune Rachel to go in between the mobs, as you notice there. She is slower than the boss but faster than the left and right tide guard. This is made in such a case where to allow her to use her special ability to remove that positive effect from the boss, so that she'll be able to do additional damage and also remove that shield in case she places it on herself. Which means that your damage dealer will not be dealing damage on the shield but dealing damage directly to the enemy's health. And as you notice, I've also tuned the attack stats on my heroes. I made sure that Natalia has the highest attack stats, so that the water boss will use the water prison on Natalia, who has this immune buff activated on herself, which prevents the stun. If you make Rachel to have too much attack stats, then you will stun Rachel instead. Alright, so as you notice, Florence is taken down there because she's pretty injured, and last breath helps to revive her and also resets her ultimate abilities, and this allows her to provide additional AoE bonus attack as well as applying the increased damage taken to the enemies so that they'll be able to receive more damage from your heroes here. Okay, the boss is almost down, 50% health down. And I think we are able to take down the boss within this round itself. Alright, so we have cleared the boss in 7 rounds, which seems pretty fast. This one takes around about 2 minutes and 34 seconds. Alright, so I'll be showcasing Opal in how to use her in adventure, especially in taking down some of the mini bosses in this game, because some of the I think these bosses will appear in like stage 5 or stage 10 in certain adventure stages. So I speed tune Opal to go before my damage dealers to activate her joint attack, so this allows her to perform the joint attack whenever the support hero, who is a weak damage dealer, will be able to assist them in those damage. And now we are at the boss wave. As you notice, Dark Nicholas has a special ability where it allows him to gain a shield as well as this block damage buff on himself. This block damage as like a 4. It works something similar to like Bane Wraith, where it's able to ignore those damage for 4 times. But using a multi-hitter like Opal would able to strip away those block damage buff easily. Moving on to the arena battles, I have Opal here used along with Florence, Luna, Melissa and Natalia. So the enemies that we are facing here is Jonathan, Hackgreen, Lightbrand and Florence. You'll need to use like single target damage dealers like Natalia and Opal when you are going against Jonathan, because Jonathan will provide AoE shield whenever he or his allies receive AoE damage. As you notice here, my Luna and Melissa performs an attack and they gain a bigger shield. So it's imperative to use single target damage dealers for this case if you want to take down tanky defenses, tanky arena defenses like this one. And usually enemies will like pair Jonathan along with like Bran for additional shield, and also Hackrin to increase the defense stats. So it makes it quite difficult to take down these enemies. And yeah, and the next arena battle, as you notice here, is the enemies using Holy Light Virgil. And the bad part about Holy Light Virgil is whenever you damage him, right, regardless of the damage dealt, he will always heal himself based on his attack stats. So if you have like big damage dealers like Luna Melissa, Wind Strikes hitting him, right, he can quickly recover his health up to 100%. So in order to like mitigate this issue, you can pair Wind Strikes and Luna Melissa with assistant, a joint attacker like Opal to take them down easily. And here is another arena battle to show you what happens if you use Opal against enemy hero who are stronger affinity, wood affinity heroes such as like Metasia, Yolanda, because they will receive lesser damage through the deflection. So whenever enemies deflect your attacks, right, they will not receive critical damage, which makes it quite difficult to take them down because they have a lot of health and they are able to heal themselves up. They have a lot of health and defense stats. As you notice, my heroes does not deal that much damage. This is like hitting nothing, although my heroes built really well. So it's also important to see what are the enemy heroes and use the right affinity against them. Now we are in the Void Tower Heart. This is one of the battle, I think it's floor 45. So I'll be showcasing Opal here, paired with Florence and Natalia and Tia. Tia is the one with the broad sword, freezing sword there. She's here to freeze the enemies. Because the enemies here, right, they have some kind of a like relic that decreases the damage received by 50%. So they will only receive additional damage, right, whenever they are crowd control, like sleep, frozen, stun, or provoke. But the best one would be to use freeze to prevent them from performing their counter attack. Alright, so we are moving on to wave 3 where the boss is located. So the boss here, I think there's no boss here, but this one has a wave 3 which has stronger enemies here. So what I plan to do here is to apply the increased damage taken, followed by the AoE freeze, and then use my Opal to take down their strong tanker here like Charles, because Charles will have this rage mechanism to improve his defense stats each time the enemies attack him. So you need to take him down quickly. Alright, this is the second battle on floor 50 of the Void Tower Heart to showcase Opal's capabilities in taking out strong enemies with the joint attacks. So as usual, I will reserve my defense down as well as the spells for the wave 3 because wave 3 will be significantly more difficult compared to the first two waves. The first two waves just use attacker heroes that can reset their ultimate ability like Natalia, Valeria, or Zedlux. Okay, we are now on wave 2 in these enemies. So the enemies here have a lot of greens, so it'll be good to use like 5 heroes here to take them down. But I prefer Natalia because Natalia has mastery books on her, which help to deal more damage to these enemies. Okay, right, so this wave 2 is cleared. Moving on to the boss wave. So the boss here is Avera. As you notice the icon with the health bar on top. So what I'll do is apply the defense down here, followed by the damage taken, and then I use Tia to freeze Avera because she has significantly more health compared to the rest of the enemies here. So currently Opal has this joint attack buff activated on her already, that's why she's able to deal additional attacks whenever my hero performs the attacks there. So Avera's health is low enough so Natalia can clean up everyone here in one hit. So that's how I speed farm the Void Tower Heart. And moving on to the Endless Trial, this is the last boss stage on stage 3 in floor 70. I think level 70, stage 3, the last boss battle. This is to showcase Opal's ability on taking down the boss, because the boss will have more health compared to the side minions here. And as you see with Opal's help, right, you can easily take down the boss compared to using like AoE damage dealers here. AoE damage dealers are useful to take down the side minions, but not taking down the boss herself. So it's useful to also have a strong single target damage dealer paired with AoE damage dealers here. Alright, I got some resources to upgrade my equipment. Alright, so next will be the guild versus environment. I'll be showcasing Opal in this boss battle against the fire tower. So this team consists of like Florence with the red robe, and then William, and also Jacob with his which is currently in invincible mode. So Florence will go first to apply the increased damage taken, as well as William to apply the counter attack buff. So whenever the boss performs his AoE attack, they'll be able to allow my allies to deal more attacks. And this will also help Jacob to charge up his rage meter. As you notice, the rage meter is in the yellow bar. So once his rage bar is filled up, then he'll be able to perform multiple bonus attacks using his ultimate ability. And if you want to use this team, right, I highly recommend you to get the talent, I think the Thunderstrike talent, where it grants bonus turn to all of the heroes whenever they reach around about 12 hits. Whenever they perform 12 hits on an enemy. I speed tune Opal to go before Jacob because I want her to activate the joint attack first, then only then Jacob performs his attack. So each time Jacob performs his attack here, then Opal can perform the joint attack as well. But I think there are two ways of doing this. Is either you can make Opal to be faster than Jacob, or you can also set up Opal to be slower than Jacob, because Jacob also applies this attack up buff on one of the allies here. So if it lands on Opal, and Opal has this joint attack buff ready, then she'll be able to benefit from this attack up buff, because every time she performs joint attack with the attack up buff applied by Jacob, then it allows her to deal significantly more damage with that. So this is the total damage output from this battle. He dealt around about 5.5 billion damage on this floor 4 of this versus environment, or the Runes God. So this team you can also use against like the Shadow Captive boss, the Dark Tower, and also the Light Tower. For the Shadow Captive boss, I recommend you to replace Florence with hero like Brand to remove those plague that is plagued by the boss. Alright, so that's the end of our video covering Opal's capabilities in various areas in the game, and also how she can synergize with other heroes to bring out her full potential. And if you found this video helpful, do give this video a thumbs up. And if you have any questions regarding on Opal, you can leave a comments below and I'll answer them as soon as possible. And if you do not want to miss any videos like this, you can also click on the subscribe button and also ring the notification bell to stay up to date whenever I upload a new video on this channel. And I've also a website at ayumilove.net where I post some guides on Awaken Chaos Era where you can learn more about this game. And I have also a Discord channel. I have the link in the video description below where you can join there to post your question there as well. Alright, so that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!